Hey, Ice Age TV here, and it's another one of my change-up style of YouTube videos. And you know, I'm such a car fanatic nut. I'm just always reading about cars and the markets, and I just really do like to stay in tune for what's going on because, as you know, watching my videos and following me, I just have been a car junkie, truck junkie, motorcycle junkie, you know, my whole life. And even to the point that I honestly can't say to you that I've owned, or I should say purchased, didn't own them, I just bought them and kept them for a while, possibly 200 or more cars. Now, definitely 100 plus cars, and I am putting together a collage of all my cars that I've had over the years, but it's very, very difficult to get those pictures, and in all reality, you have to use just a general picture. And I am working on that just to kind of show you how many vehicles I've owned in my lifetime. So with that, I'm just kind of sitting here talking to Joe, who, once again, don't know if he likes me calling him Joe, but we're gonna call him Joe. And he's here on the other side of the camera here, and we're just talking about the car trends and car markets. And as many know, the used car market is just incredible. I mean, just as an example, I just bought back my GT500, and I actually got paid more for my GT500 that I paid for initially, and then I turned around after I kept it for about a year, like 4 months. In June of this past year, I sold it back to dealer, and they actually paid me more for it than I paid for it. And then it came back, and I actually had to go back and buy it again. And I actually paid a little bit more, not much, more than I actually paid for me to buy it. So the used car market is truly crazy. And for those that are abreast of what's happening, it's obvious. But for those that do not know, it's due to the COVID impact of the loss of manufacturing and the chip shortage and materials. You know, it's all pandemic related. But the good news, the bad news, and the good news is if you're a used car owner, you have a vehicle that's worth, substantially more than it was 2 years ago. The bad news is if you're a person in the market to buy a used car, you're paying substantially more for a used car. And Joe and I have been, watching this past year, and Joe really, has some great thoughts and, ways he sees at it. And what's interesting is Joe has mentioned to me about the chip shortage, and Joe has some thoughts on that. What you were telling me about the chip shortage, you're saying that, it's kind of being misled, that you feel that what's going on.
Well, right now we're not really in so much a chip shortage. It's just the supply chain has been affected so much that we're just all the chip makers were put on sideline during the initial months of COVID, and they weren't making chips because they didn't need chips. And then everything opened back up, and everybody puts in chip orders, and these manufacturers haven't been making chips, so now that they have to double time it to catch up to all these guys where they should have just been ordering chips throughout the pandemic, and there would have never been this issue. So now there's a huge over manufacturing of chips going on, which is going to catch up to us in the next 6 to 8 months, and then we're going to have too many chips.
Right, and what Joe makes a good point of, if you're listening, I hope you could hear him, is the manufacturers, stopped ordering product. So they kind of created their own challenge, not thinking to the future that, and what's really incredible, because I'm such a car-aholic, and I literally have personal relationships with many dealerships between cars and motorcycles and boats. And on the car side, right after the pandemic started, so March, April last year, unbeknownst to a lot of people, the car dealerships were overwhelmed with people standing at the front door to get back into a car dealership to buy cars. So even though last year most of us were sent home or idled our job, we had a whole different, transition in our life. And meanwhile, the car dealers, they were just, they were overwhelmed with selling products. So, but at the same time, as Joe has referenced here, the manufacturers didn't look at that, and they basically didn't prepare for more sales. They were prepared for less sales, which is just crazy. So Joe is, and I don't know how factual this is, and I'm not here, Joe and I, we definitely have our different views, and I'll be like, yeah, I don't know if I believe that, and then Joe will prove me wrong, or I'll prove him wrong. But Joe is throwing in the page that the chip shortage isn't the chip shortage that people think it is, since so many manufacturers have upped their production, that it's not too far away for the manufacturers to be able to get a lot of chips. Now, once again, this isn't like we have all inside information and I'm sitting here telling you that that's all factual. I'm just sharing information that Joe is reading about and seeing. And so now the speculation is, does the car market adjust 6 to 8 months from now? And that's a whole nother speculation. So for Joe over here, your feelings are that, we come into next, let's say, spring. You think that the production's kind of back to normal?
As long as there's not another shutdown. Yes.
Okay,
if there's another shutdown due to COVID, then you're going to have another stop in production. And that's also, there's a lot of these production facilities, manufacturing facilities are in China, and there is a lot of flooding going on right now in the manufacturing cities of China. So I don't know what's going on right there on that end as well. So
great.
You might see it might be a year out, but I mean, there's some companies that are also on the back end. They're rotating and starting up their own manufacturing of chips on their end. So you're going to have a lot of also smaller scale chip manufacturers coming into the program to play, but I don't think there's going to be a lack of chips within this time.
And that's a great point that Joe's making, is that there's a bunch of companies that have applied for assistance here in our country with the government to become a chip supplier. So that's some good news, being they're trying to bring domestic production here for the chips. And as Joe's mentioning, if we don't have our kind of shutdown, I think that, in the realm of things, it's potentially maybe, next spring, summer, things kind of get normal. And for me, being the car-aholic, and, I buy a lot of new cars, I can see, what's going on more than others, because I'm in and out of car dealerships so much, which, ask the wife how she feels about that. That's not so great. So, car addiction, I could say that can be one of my problems, if you want to look at it that way, but I look at it as having fun. So anyways, the whole point of that is, with the shortage of cars, you go to a car dealership and it's just kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, borderline, I'm having to beg to buy a car from a car dealership, right? And as well as I do, there's so many people out there that just despise, sorry car dealers and car salesmen, that despise having to go to the car dealership, and that's why the Carvanas and the Vroom and a lot of other internet capability car transactions has grown substantially. But you go to the new car dealership today and it's pretty barren. I mean, it's really incredible. And for me, I travel around the East Coast, and I've been in Florida a lot this past summer, and I've actually been down in Tennessee, and it's factual. You go to these car dealerships, and they literally, some car dealers in these more remote areas are just, they have like nothing. It's incredible. Even used cars. So it's very, very challenging times for some dealerships. For the more metropolis, suburban areas, the DC area, Florida areas, they seem to have a better stronghold on product because they're such big volume dealers. But to give you an example, I know people that order cars from the manufacturer. So at a local Toyota dealership that I've had a relationship for 20, 30 years of buying Toyotas, I know the person that actually orders all the Toyotas, and he disclosed to me last week they usually get an allocation of 10,000 to 12,000 Toyotas. And right now they have an allocation for 2,000, which, wow, even for me saying that, I think, wow, there's just no way. I just can't believe that that's factual. So what's that done? Well, as I said in the beginning of the conversation, this has created the used car market which has made your vehicle, worth substantially more, because car dealers really need your car to keep the infrastructure of moving sales through their dealerships and volume. Which, and there's another conversation I just recently had at one of my favorite dealerships, and literally their used markets, kind of getting a little lighter, but their new side, it's just really gotten severely lighter. So their volume could be a third what it used to be. And just some information, a lot of these dealerships are working now at half volume, and which means they're actually making a lot of money still, because they're getting higher prices for the vehicles, so they're able to offset that. So going back to kind of this conversation being used cars, there was speculation back in July, August, that the used car market was going to kind of reverse itself and prices would be going down. And this actually came from some very big auction, companies throughout the country that were saying, hey, everybody, we think possibly the used car prices are going to change and they're going to go back down. Well, no, that's not correct. Right now, being the middle of September, late September, used car prices actually are stable and actually going back up again, just because of the continued challenge of getting new cars. And now, just recently, a hurricane came through down south through the Gulf and did some major damage to some states there, major flooding. So now I'm being told from local dealerships that now the manufacturers are having to help those dealers in those areas that were impacted by the hurricane. So they're actually losing allocation to them. So right now in today's car market, there's a lot of variables. But what I'm kind of hearing consistently is we're probably are into the second quarter, third quarter next year, where things maybe kind of start to stabilize somewhat. But here's news that I didn't heard this, that Joe just mentioned, is that in China, China's manufacturing has challenges because of severe, rains and flooding over there. I don't know about that, but if that is factual, oh man, it just doesn't stop. So definitely very interesting times. And for me, being such a car fanatic my whole life, I never thought and really felt that I would see the cars of used cars having such more value than they do today. And I honestly would have said, yeah, I just, used cars, you buy a new car, and typically you lose 20-30% the minute you drive it off the lot. So if you buy a $40,000 car, you can probably count on it being worth $30,000 to $32,000 when you go back to trade it in. Well, that's not the case at this time, and it hasn't really been the case this past year. So there's many people that do get new cars. You got to be careful there, because the new car market is actually now getting premium price for the car, and even some are charging ADM. But if you have a good dealer and you get a good price on a car that's pretty, sought after, then you can drive it for the next year and sell it, and you may just sell it back for close to what you paid for it. And in some cases, if it's a unique vehicle, such like for me at a GT500, that value went up substantially, so I actually made money off of that vehicle. So wrapping it up here, for everybody here that's in the car market and thinking about buying a car, right now is a challenging time. And if you're thinking of selling your car, now would probably be the time to do it. And if you're thinking about buying a car, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. And if you're going to keep it for a long time, I can see you paying good price, good money for it. And if it's the right vehicle, you'll probably be all right if you don't keep it a long time. But just do your shopping and do your internet research. And I appreciate you watching my YouTube channel, which it's a little different direction, and see how you guys like that, and see if I need to kind of keep on giving you some ideas and conversations. Have a great day.